Whatever you do, don't expose yourself.
All right, do you have the yips? Like, I don't know. Like, this has gone off the rails.
I'll give you a round of fisticuffs.
I'm a man of the people. I follow the rules.
Yeah.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 55 of the Pucking Around podcast. We got a good show for you guys tonight. We got some topics. We're going to talk about some headshots, and it might not be the ones that you guys are thinking about. Potential trade candidates around the league, some rumors that have been going around, and what has changed in the Eastern Conference playoff race, if anything's really changed at all. It's kind of getting tight down there. And as always, I am joined with my ragtag group, the Brute Squad. Above me, I have Rick Bob Seligman.
Rick Bob. Just call me Ricky Bob.
It's more like Rick Bald. And to my, well, I guess it would be your right, but technically my left, Alex, the Fern Gully Fernet. And
Darth Vader's son.
Lord Alex is here tonight.
And above Alex, we got Jamey down in Hawaii.
It's 3 degrees here in Hawaii, baby. Mahalo. Aloha.
3 degrees in Hawaii. That's really the end of the world if that happens. Jesus.
Is it really 3 degrees in
No, I'm not in Hawaii either. I just like saying aloha mahalo. Hey, man, it brings spirits to everybody. Puts smiles on people's faces.
Is it really 3 degrees over there in Philadelphia though? Like, where you're in Pennsylvania, right?
Maryland, no?
Maryland, same thing. I mean, it's right next door. So, but yeah, it's like 3 degrees right now. Yeah,
that's about what it is here.
Yep. Hey, we're in Canada. This is the Canadian Arctic air, baby.
Yeah, it's like minus 20 Celsius. So that's about that. It's somewhere around there.
And it's all the way from London.
It's cold.
It's all the way from London.
That's crazy.
We're a
man.
whopping 15 degrees right now. It's so warm here. I'm ready to have a cookout in shorts.
See? Hey, that's exactly the reason why Alex looks like Rocky Balboa.
See?
Alex, I don't know what you mean for New Englanders. 15-degree weather is shorts and barbecue weather. Like it is for me. I'd go out there and do it.
Throw on flip-flops, throw on the shorts, put on the friggin' grill, and start making some tips. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I heard tits.
That's what I heard. I know enough about you guys down there that I know what it means.
Oh my God. Did you get any snow?
Did we get any snow?
No, I'm talking to Jamey, not about you.
So last weekend we got 11.4. This past day we got like a dusting. Nothing like Alex. Alex got 5 inches.
You got 5 inches.
He's got 5 inches.
He's walking tall and carrying a big stick. Wow,
hey,
not a big one.
oh man, sticks like 12 feet.
Rick's in timeout.
With his Expos hat.
Too many innuendos. Oh man,
I'm sorry,
Rick. You're off the rails tonight, dude. I don't know what to say. Everything is a pee-pee joke for you today.
It's one of those days. That's how I react to days like today. All right,
Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Today's Monday.
Got a case of the Mondays. That's all.
He's got a case of the Mondays.
I got a case of the Mondays. Yes.
Womp womp. Sad. Womp.
Yes.
All right, let's get right into it, fellas. Well, I'm glad everyone's cold and bundled up, and Alex looks like the next coming of Emperor Palpatine. But let's get into
Return of the Sith.
Luke, I'm your father, baby.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to say this real quick. So I went to the Empire Strips Back for my friend's birthday. It's a Star Wars burlesque show.
Nice.
They're normally not my kind of thing, but your life will forever be changed when you see a naked Palpatine riding on a Death Star disco ball stroking the Palpapenis.
That is the most random thing I have heard probably in all of 2025.
Dude, you look like Palpatine. I don't know what you want me to say for those of you
What
Star Wars fans.
was the extracurricular comment with this?
Because I just wanted to say it was a funny thing. Go watch Empire Strips Back. Great quality show.
While Palpatine was walking around, he was walking naked. I imagine. Is your head going up and down like that? No.
What?
That's just a joke.
Put Rick back in timeout. He's at the record.
All right, let's get
2
into
minutes.
some hockey.
The poor people listening to the first 5 minutes of this fucking podcast.
I thought this was a hockey podcast. What are we listening to?
It is. Palpatine was shooting some puck. That's all I gotta say.
Shooting
All
some
right,
puck because he carries a big stick.
Alex is going to lead us into our first topic. We're going to talk about headshots around the league. Because over this past week, there's been quite a few, and there's been a couple questionable ones. One that even got our very own Jamey Baskow to swear.
You know how hard that is to do.
Is it head? No, don't have the right thing.
Would you like to lead with that one, or should we go and save that one for last? Since it was probably the most egregious.
No, I think you could start with that one. I think I would argue that the three that we're going to bring up were well, one of them is more or less egregious, I think, but two out of the three. So why don't we start with that one? Because
all right. So last Thursday, just to give a quick recap on things, the New York Islanders and Philadelphia Flyers had a matchup out in Long Island, and around the late stages of the first period, the Flyers were killing off a penalty when Ryan Poehling won a puck battle and ended up trying to cut into the slot to get a close range shot on the backhand. And a certain member of the New York Islanders decided to take it upon himself to pretty much use his head as a wood chipper and borderline decapitate him. Now, the big argument on this I've seen from multiple people in the opposition end on social media was it did originally originate as shoulder-to-shoulder contact. And to a degree, that is accurate. However, there is one massive issue that was missed in this. He took his head right off with a friggin' shoulder to the head. Absolutely clocked him.
To clarify,
Ryan Poehling was down on the ice for almost a good 5 minutes, left the ice, didn't return, was put on IR.
To clarify on you, Alex, too, I want to mention that it was Siplikov that laid the hit, just to give you the audience out there like the idea of who the Islanders player was. So it was, I believe he's a rookie, right?
Yeah.
Siplikov, yeah.
He's having a half-decent year, too.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's young. He's going to make a mistake, but that was one that was definitely a huge mistake. I know I see Jamey, like, covering this. I think he's waiting to get in on this. I'm gonna let you Flyers fans handle that. I mean, I'll admit I was one of those people that initially thought that, because I saw a few angles that it looked like it was shoulder to shoulder initially, and then Alex showed me that. I said, yeah, never mind. That's clear as day, hit to the head.
What's even more infuriating is that it was reviewed. That's the mind-boggling part. I think all the officiating crew, and I know part of them is that. And I know there's also a reviewable room, and it wasn't in Toronto, from what I find out. It was actually in Boston or New York or something. There was it wasn't in Toronto.
In New York, I would believe.
And you know what? It just infuriated me even more how the refs got away from that and didn't issue a penalty at all.
Leave it
that, like that. It was so egregious. It annoyed the heck out of me in a nice way, because I really don't. It honestly, I threw my phone across the room. Like, you got to be kidding me. I couldn't believe it. We're talking about player safety, and they're so up and down. It's a roller coaster. You don't know what's a fine. You don't know what's a penalty anymore. You don't know what's going to be a suspension anymore. Like, dude, Voracek gets suspended for his butt. You remember that a few years ago?
Yeah,
and then
that was the hashtag he made, right? I remember that.
You know what I mean? And like, oh man, it's unbelievable. The entire officiating crew should be fired.
I think
without a doubt, I agree with that.
Go ahead, Rick. Do you actually have anything more to add to that?
Do I have anything more to add to that? I know you're expecting me to say gambling, and I'm not going to say that, but I do
before I went into my rant.
I totally agree with Jamey. The refs there's a reason why they're missing these calls. I would think we lost Jamey.
He'll be back.
There's a reason why. Now, I've been talking about gambling. I don't know if that's it, but I have a new theory. I run it by you guys. CTE. Okay? If they crack down on the headshots and on stuff like this, don't you think it's kind of like admitting that that's a problem? And then if they admit that's a problem, they're culpable in all that. And I know they don't want to admit anything about CTE. So I'm wondering if like, are these guys turning their backs? Literally turning their backs because they're looking at them half the time, right there looking at them, and there's no call. And like, there's got to be a reason.
No, I don't think it's related to that at all, and I think that's kind of harsh to say. I mean, I think whoever was making that call on the ice got it wrong, especially when you have all the time in the world to review it. Like, you get it wrong. You if you take as much time as you need, like if you're really still not convinced, okay, but it still looks bad on you, like after the game and disciplinary action comes down on the player. That looks really bad because the dopes at Dops suspended Siplikov. They did. He got a suspension after that.
So how does that make sense, right?
Again, I think that was on whoever the officials were in that game, and I think it was on whoever was in the review room that night. They should be fined, or they're just as equally responsible, or something needs to happen. Some form of disciplinary action on them needs to come down.
On them, 100%.
For screwing
I said
that
just
up
the other day. I said that exactly just the other day because we got screwed over with calls that even the announcers were saying that makes no sense. How something has to be done. So it's not just on headshots, but with headshots, I mean, you're talking about a guy's career maybe, and they're allowing it to happen.
I'm also still saying in game, like let's just say this didn't go under review, right? That is a very, if you look at those, like I'll bring up Cole Koepke's hit from Dylan Radish, that in real time, you can't see it. It's hard. It's hard to determine that. So I'm willing to give the refs a break in real time, but when you put these elements under review, you got to get it right. And I've been adamant about that since day one, ever since we started
100%.
talking about reviews. Like, even if, Alex says, like, offsides, if it's off by a tit hair, it should go off. I'm like, no, it's offside. Call it. It doesn't matter. Make the call right if you're going to go put something under review. It needs to be right. The thing with last year with Sam Bennett and Coyle, you got to make these things right. I don't care. Like, I'd be happy with an explanation. Like, even if they told me, well, yes, this rule says this, but X, Y, and Z, at least explain to me so I understand moving forward. Set yourself on a standard. And that's something that they're not getting.
What's crazy to me, too? It's the sheer fact that he got suspended 3 games for the hit. But the officiating out of this aspect, they didn't get the original call right, which I agree, Cam. Real time things can happen. If you look from the side angle, it does kind of look like originally shoulder to shoulder.
It doesn't kind of. It does.
Yeah.
Objectively speaking, it does.
Yeah. But when you see it from the net camera, it's clear as day. He came in and practically tried decapitating Palin. It's embarrassing. And it's the sheer fact that you're even using the technology that you have in front of you. Not only did you not get the call right, you didn't even call it a major, which that is the definition of a major. That's a check to the head major, 5 in a game. He should have been thrown out of the game. If not, he should have been at least dropping the gloves, answering for a fight. Hathaway was trying to get in his face when the shit would drop down. He didn't end up answering the bell. Minutes later, Joel Farabee gives him a little weak slash. The Flyers go on the PK because of it, and the Islanders end up scoring. Actually, no, they scored in the original power play that they had. I'm sorry. But point being, the biggest issue when it comes to stuff like this is if you don't fix the issue right there and then, that's how you lose control of games. That's how officials
100%.
lose control of games. And I agree. Go ahead, add a point.
I'm going to add a point to that because the Bruins lost to Ottawa on Saturday. The 6-5, the shootout loss. The refs lost control of that game. I don't know if you saw any of that game, guys, but like that was a horrible example of where both Boston and Ottawa felt that they were getting robbed of certain calls. There was a phantom call on Lindholm for something, and it's just like, grow a sack or something and swallow the whistle where you need to, but also call the stuff that needs to be called. I just don't understand anymore, and I'm at that point where I'm starting to look and agree with a lot of the GMs and say, like, put them in front of a mic at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, don't the NFL, MLB, and NBA do that? Not putting them directly in front of a mic.
No.
But they get a report. This is
they
how
do
they
get
do
a
it.
report.
One reporter gathers up the questions that the other guys want to ask, and they meet with either a representative or with the refs. And that's what they should be doing here.
No, the NFL gets immediate call justifications on the field. Like they give the explanation.
After the fact, NBA after the fact, that they will clarify if there is a missed call or if the call was made accurately in any type of controversy. But in the NHL, you don't hear anything. The officials for this game, Mitch Dunning, Brian Pochmara, should both be suspended. Both be suspended.
Then
The fact that they screwed this up to this magnitude is disgraceful because it took for the Department of Player Safety to correct this. Like I said, they are unbelievably lucky this game didn't go to shit because the Flyers could have dropped they're lucky this happened late in the period because if they had a full period, they could have went headhunting mode and tried to take this kid's head off and gave him a wake-up call what the NHL can really be about if you're out on the wrong side of one of these types of hits. Ryan Poehling is one of the big locker room leaders in Philly. He's a younger player. He's only 25, 26, but he's always led by example. And now he's concussed. He's on IR. It hasn't officially been announced he's concussed, but I think it's pretty obvious based off of the hit. He's got a concussion. He's currently placed on IR. And stuff like this, the officials need to answer for it.
Yeah.
Because the fact, as I've said multiple times already, the fact that this can go without punishment or without at least explanation of what they saw when they see this picture. Ryan Poehling is seeing friggin' sheep in the air when he took a shot here. The fact that they can get away with this and not give any justification or clarification of this, it's just mind-boggling.
What's the
You
use
need
of
to at least have them step in front of the mic, Cam. I 100% agree with you there.
what's the use of having a review if when it's clearly that and you guys look at it and go, yeah, whatever, and you don't like why do the review at all? I've been waiting for this. In international hockey, don't they call a 5-minute major when they think there's a question on a call? That way they can review. Now, if they're not going to understand what they're reviewing, it doesn't work. But I think on a lot of calls in the NHL, they should go to that, call a 5-minute major so they can review it and change calls. They don't do it as in international hockey. They do it a lot, and they should do it here more.
Okay, well, I mean, you got to there's got to be a give and take somewhere. I don't know if they should I would say it should be a case by case basis. You know what I mean?
Well, of course it is, but they should should do it more often than they're doing it.
I don't know. Again, more often you got to define that because it's the more often part comes from a case by case basis.
Well, okay, but I'm saying if the game is that kind of a game, then you need to utilize those kind of tools that they have. Although if they can look at review a hit and they don't see what actually happened, then are they incompetent? I mean, are refs literally incompetent and they're not training them properly?
In this case, it looks like incompetence because I don't know how you can look at that and not call it.
Well, how much of this are you also going to put on Siplikov too? Because he also put Poehling in that situation, and he put himself in that situation.
Well, of course, but he got the suspension. It's not that it's not on Siplikov, but it's on the refs to get it right, especially when you fucking review it.
I agree. Well, let me ask you this: do you think, with Siplikov being a rookie, do you think that was intentional? Could you actually look at that and tell me that,
I can't say that.
Like he's a rookie.
I don't know if it's intentional. I think he's trying to make a play and he makes a bad misjudgment. The guy,
isn't he really tall?
He's a big frame. Yes. I don't think he doesn't have any type of history that I know of, at least.
He's a rookie.
He does in the minors or juniors or something. But he's a big kid, and he's trying to make a play to prevent a high-octane scoring opportunity, which I understand. It's the sheer fact is the NHL rulebook states an illegal check to the head, a hit resulting in contact with the opponent's head, where the head is the main point of contact, such as the head was avoidable and is not permitted. That was avoidable.
We already know that.
Shoulder, but the head was the main point of contact.
Oh, but wait. Now, in the NHL, isn't it that if you don't hit the head directly, so you touch the shoulder, but then you go to the head, it's not a penalty?
It is considered not true.
It's the main point of contact. It doesn't have to be the initial spot it hits. Because otherwise, people could get away with that.
That's the main point of contact.
Yeah,
that is the main point of contact.
The initial point of contact, the main point of contact are not the same. The main point of contact in this instance is because it took the main part of the force. The shoulder was barely clipped. You can't really say that the shoulder was
I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you here. That in this instance where he did graze the shoulder, but the follow through was to the head. That is an instance of which, yes, I will agree with you. But for the primary objective of the rule, I will actually contest that the primary point of contact is
and that's where a case by case scenario comes in. If you have the majority of the impact on the shoulder, and maybe like the shoulder backs and hits the head, and it's a little unlucky.
Well,
That's one thing. This does not fall in that category.
I want to
because
move
the head was
away.
the main point of contact.
I want to move away from Paling because there were 2 more hits, and we spent enough time
let's
on
do that.
Paling, and you're being that with the dead horse, and we're being until we're blue in the face. And we can be quick on Koepke because the same points are going to be made with Koepke. And the reason why I ask you Siplikov is because Darren Radish of the Tampa Bay Lightning was the one who laid the hit on Cole Koepke, and Darren Radish is 28 years old, so he's a veteran at this point in the league. And so that's why I say, like, you know, someone who's tall and learning the game versus someone who's been in the league a while, you would expect better. So here's the picture of Koepke. You're not seeing the contact yet because the video moves too quickly, but you can kind of tell right there
like,
that shoulder is going to knock his head, and it does. Like, there's no other evidence that you need to suggest that. And similar to the Paling hit, you know, it gets reviewed. They initially call a penalty on the play. That was the difference here, because I don't think they initially called a penalty in the Paling hit. And then they said, no, after multiple looks at it. I'm like, that's your angle right there that defines it.
Was this called any penalty at all?
No penalty on the play. There was no penalty on the play. Period.
Yeah, that looked like, it's the fact that when you look at this picture, at least, it looks like he's bending his knees into it. Maybe, again, I don't know if he was intentionally aiming for his head. It might be similar to the fact that with Paling, he was aiming for his shoulder. He might have been aiming for the shoulder here too, but he got the head. And I don't care if
drop
it's
down at all?
or not. It looks like he is bending his knees is the big difference, but clips the head. And I don't care if it's accidental or not. You hit the head, you hit the head. You should be penalized.
Did Koepke lower down a little bit at last second?
No. Koepke did go down on the ice, and he was helped off the ice. He's also on IR or short-term IR, I believe.
Yeah, it's like the Trouba hit on Justin Barron when Barron was still here. There was no call on the play. He clearly hit him in the head. No call on the play. And I think, if I'm right, Trouba got suspended a game or two. Right? So, like, I don't get how you can suspend the guy and there was no call at all on the play. How
that's the problem.
There's something, and I could, like you said earlier, if there's no review, you can miss something. I get that. But if you've reviewed the play, I don't understand how a guy could not be penalized and then suspended 3 games.
100% agree with you, Rick.
And like,
we could beat, like I said, we could beat this down to we're blue in the face, right? Like we can say the same thing over and over again with regarding that. We understand that in real time it's hard.
One more
but
point.
With review, it's
right.
You shouldn't miss it.
And then why doesn't the NHL address that? There's some kind of discrepancy there, right? They're fine with saying, well, yeah, he gets 3 games. And we're just, never mind, there was no call. Never mind.
Was there a suspension given out for this hit or no?
Nope. There was no disciplinary action. Nope. I don't
believe
so.
That might make it worse. That's bad.
Yeah, and there's no rhyme or reason.
I saw the video in full time once, but that should have gotten something.
I didn't see that one either. But there's no rhyme or reason in a game with refs anymore. There's just none. Like last night's game, there was I don't remember now who we played. The Rangers, they got penalized. No, they got away with something, or I forget. They call it the opposite against Montreal. Like they gave us a 4-minute penalty for something that the Rangers got away with, and we got 4 minutes on it. And the announcers are going, how is this possible? So how come that's not addressed by the NHL when stuff like that happens?
My biggest issue with
they're hiding it.
It's probably hard to mid-season. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's difficult to adjust the refs, like, way they're calling the games. Like every year they revisit the rule book. There's basically a new revision of the rule book every year.
I get
and it's
that.
after the GM's meeting.
It's not what I was talking about. Why don't they address this to fans? Because there's a lot of talk out there. They cannot have. It's not that they don't see what we're talking about and what writers are talking about and people like that.
I see what you mean.
How come they haven't come out to address it? They're hiding from it. Why are they hiding from it? It's not going to be a good answer when we find out, but Why are they
Hey,
hiding from it?
I'm not.
I think the
on
big issue
conspiracy
is
theory.
you're suddenly looking at inconsistencies within the call because you're going to get some things that we agree with that end up getting called and some that don't. The big issue with this is if you don't lay down the law, this lingers not only around the league but into opposition teams' next matchup. And the Flyers play the
gets out of
Islanders again
control.
on Friday. They do.
It's out of control.
I'm wondering if this could get ugly. For example, with us, what does Tampa play Boston again this year?
Yep, 2 more times.
What? There you go. That could
It's
lose
gonna be-
control too.
Hey, we play Ottawa again this Thursday at home too. Like it's gonna be hectic.
This
It might.
is what the point of either one of two things need to happen. I know what beating this blue in the face, but the issue comes down to this. They need to have some level of consistency with this,
Yes.
like Rick just mentioned, they need to
Some
come
level.
out and give some level of clarification since it's becoming a reoccurring thing over the last couple of games now. We've seen 3 major ones
All
in this week
season.
alone. We're not counting the rest of the season.
It's all season.
And number 2, they need to make sure that either something is done at some point of the game to level up, to make sure that this doesn't become a reoccurring issue, or the player needs to drop the gloves and fight. The player needs to drop the gloves and fight, answer for what may have been looked as a borderline, or in this case, a blatant dirty play, and then you just move on. If the guy drops the gloves and fights, answers the bell, we don't end up having this type of issue after the fact, or at least not to this degree. At least it simmers it down a little bit, because if not, players are going to, as I mentioned earlier, players are going to try to get retaliation shots, and that's how you get dangerous hits.
Right.
A guy, oh, come on, let me finish my point. Come on, don't blow the whistle for that. But you got a guy who could have his head down against the boards trying to win a battle for the puck. For example, in this game, Garnett Hathaway may look at this and say, hey, he hurt my line mate. I'm going to go friggin' hit the numbers.
Yeah.
Could lead to a potential neck injury. Guys will start thinking a little more rationally with emotion if things aren't answered instantly because they feel like they need some level of justification of this.
Also, they don't know what's going to get called and what's not. They might try something and say, well, mate, they won't call it. Stuff like that's happening, I believe.
See, that's an issue from game to game. Like I believe in in-game consistency. And that's the problem. That's where the issues really are because early on in the game, the refs will dictate to the players basically by calling the penalties, and you'll see how it's going to be called. That's teaching the players how these refs are going to see the game. Game to game, you're going to see variability. That's fine. And I'm okay with that. But in game, if you're not going to call it fair or call it the same both sides, then you don't have in my eyes, you don't have a place in the NHL.
I think it's important, but I think for both, but I think you're right, though, especially in game. If you don't call consistently in game, what happened there?
Alex is gone. He'll be back. He's having some technical difficulties tonight for.
Oh, okay. Okay, now I wanted to one last thing on headshots. This is my headshot right here.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
They didn't do a good job on it, I don't think. What do you think?
We have one more headshot that we wanted to discuss, and it was tightly or moderately contested by a lot of Edmonton fans on Twitter. It was a rough game between Edmonton and Vancouver, and Connor Garland definitely. I'm not gonna argue that he should not have gotten a penalty. Connor Garland should have gotten a penalty for holding McDavid down 100%. There was a whole bunch of penalties there. Alex, welcome back. We're talking about the Connor Garland cross-check by McDavid and how we're saying that Connor Garland should have gotten a penalty for everything that he did before. But I will say that it is no excuse under any circumstance for you to ever raise your stick, your fist, or anything that could really harm a player to their throat or their head.
Did he spear him? Did he spear him in the face?
Yeah, he got him with a cross check to the face. It was. I will say this is my thing when it comes to this. I understand McDavid's frustration. I do, but you can't do what he did here.
I agree
because Garland should have been called 2 or 3 times. He's hitting him. There was 2 or 3 interference calls that were missed. He kept going and going, and this is again a knock on the officiating. And it led with this. This is a perfect example of what we were talking about with the first 2 calls, where the player took matters into his own hands
Yeah.
to get his level of retribution here.
Yeah.
And because the officiating did not do their job, McDavid let his emotions go over the top here and take matters into his own hands to make sure Garland got the answer that he believed was needed. Now, do I defend McDavid for cross-checking him in the throat? No, you don't do that. You fuck with a man's Adam's apple, you can frig up his breathing tube, and this could get really bad. I'm not defending the action itself, but I understand McDavid's frustration in the sheer fact of the officiating not doing their job. Myers and McDavid are now suspended 3 games because the officiating didn't do their job, and McDavid went off the deep end.
Rick, go ahead.
What did he do exactly? He cross-checked him to the throat.
To the head.
I think it was to the head. I don't think it quite got
to the side of the head.
But it's still like it's a quick, instant reaction thing. Next time it might be the throat.
It's just what bothers me is that people who are inhuman can't look at that and just say like, oh, well, that was Garland was the definition of fuck around and find out. I'm like, no, that's not how you justify that. And for someone
That's
actually tweeted,
school.
someone tweeted back at me and oh God, now it's escaping me. And they're just like, oh, that was a nothing cross check. I'm like, okay, I have something for you. Go get cross checked by a professional and then to the face, and then let me know how you feel. I'm like, these guys are solid on their skates. Yeah. I skate with Bob.
Small dude either.
I skate with Bob Sweeney at the Peabody rink in Massachusetts. That man is 60, like probably in his 60s, and I still go down if I run into him. The man is solid, and he's had multiple hip surgeries. Mm-hmm. Like, don't pull that shit with me, and then try to defend like a player still putting another player into a position. Garland never made an attempt at McDavid's head. He did hold him. Yes, penalty on Garland should have been called. No one's going to argue that. I'm never going to argue that. But for you as a low-life fan to defend a player, and I'll never defend a player who does something like this.
Well, you can't.
Is ridiculous.
But you know, the fuck around, find out people are old school. In my day, that's what happened, but it doesn't make it right today. We're supposed to progress and, learn, but that's old school. And that's somebody who's older that probably said that. But
I also say it as coming from someone who has concussion history. Like it once you get one, it doesn't take much to get you a second.
It doesn't.
So I don't know. Fans who were defending that, grow up. Don't use anything as an excuse to go at another player. It's no excuse. Like, I'm not going to defend Castellic.
Keep going.
Castellic was definitely that was awesome timing. Castellic definitely went at Lilleberg asking for something 100%. That's the definition of, and Lilleberg responded with a cross check to the face. I don't agree with the cross check to the face, but I agree with the fight. There's 2 things can exist simultaneously.
Yep.
I don't agree with the whole fuck around and find out thing because you people who don't play hockey or don't play in a professional league don't understand how strong these players actually are and or how that stick is actually made. I could probably cross check someone to the face and it would still hurt you.
To a certain extent, fuck around and find out is fine. But when it comes to that, you're going to actually physically hurt someone. There's something wrong there because, there's just something, Dude, listen, tit for tat, maybe I understand that. So cross-check Garland somewhere else, but not to the face.
The sheer issue
or to the neck.
The sheer issue of this simply comes to this. Officiating, if you did your job and nip this in the bud, call the penalty that should have been called, this never happens. And as I just stated prior, I might sound like a broken record. This is where it comes from our other 2 discussions, that this is an example of what happens when officials don't take matters into their own hands and try to calm things down before players end up saying, all right, if these assholes ain't going to do it, I'm going to take it into my own hands. I'm not defending McDavid for the action. I'm defending McDavid for him taking it into his own hands. Just don't cross-check the guy in the face. Jump him next time. If you fight him, drop the gloves, sure. Although in that instance, you probably don't because there's like 15 seconds to go when you're trying to tie the game. But at the same time, Officials, do your damn job.
Do your damn job. Do your damn job. Exactly.
We're playing crickets for that, really.
No, well said, Alex. I mean, and we're going to end it there with the headshots. We spent enough
Yeah.
time on it. We're going to move on to potential trade rumors, trade candidates, and et cetera, because apparently things were heating up. I'll lead us into this with JT Miller. As everyone knows, and we discussed last week, JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, they're having issues. JT Miller allegedly now has come out, had actually requested a trade. He was denied that, but now they are entertaining moving him. Elias Pettersson has actually requested to stay. So it looks like Miller is more than likely going to be on the move. It's just going to be on his terms. And, a lot of people thought Pettersson, but it's a lot of money. You're not going to, and the overhaul they want for him is just too egregious. Supposedly New Jersey actually had a deal in place, but it fell through.
Rangers as well.
For
Rangers
Pettersson,
as
you're
well.
talking about?
Miller.
For
JT
Miller. Oh, yeah, I thought I read that. You're right.
I think we got it flip-flopped, actually. The Rangers are the team that had the deal in place. It fell through. New Jersey was making progress, but never got to the deal point. They kind of have things off right now.
Yeah,
so
we played the Rangers last night, so they mentioned that on the broadcast.
Yes. So I don't think it's if anymore JT Miller's going to get moved. It's when.
It's when. But it's on his own terms. Don't forget that.
He has a no.
He has a no movement clause. That's right. So he picks where he wants to go, for sure.
Yeah, let me ask you guys, that's the right move. Moving Miller is the right move. Not
100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Out of the two, I'd much rather move Miller.
Yeah,
Cheaper
because Pettersson's younger.
Player, probably you won't get as much, obviously, but that's not the point of this. You'd rather keep the 1C in Pettersson. He's only 26 years old.
Exactly. Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah.
But the crazy thing about this is the fact that now 2 deals have fallen through. How many more options do you have left? Because Miller, as we mentioned, controls where he wants to go. Does Miller eventually just say, F this and I'll go wherever? Or is he going to be picky on this?
Actually, that's a good question. I think he will be picky about it. I think he wants to go to a contender.
How many teams is his list? Do you know? Anybody?
I think it's a full NMC right now. I think it's
but even sometimes with a full NMC, whatever that is, they if you agree to waive, they agree on a number of teams and there's a list.
No, they can, but it's up to them. Basically, it's what the full no movement clause is. Basically, they can't do anything without the player approval.
Right.
But if you have a modified NMC or a modified NTC,
then
they have some leeway without having your approval. But
I think you're right. I think with this, they feel out the other teams and they come to him and say, would you go here?
He's in full control.
Yeah.
He has, as of right now, he has full control.
Yeah, it's a no movement clause until 2027, 28. Then it becomes a modified 15-team trade. No movement clause.
Yeah.
But
they're not waiting that long.
No. It's going to happen probably
by the deadline. By the deadline, you got to figure. Deadline's coming up soon.
Well, yeah.
I think it'll be sooner than that.
Right? It's going to be by the deadline or off season. That's the only.
It won't be in the off season. It'll be at some point this year.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's no longer if it's when. It feels like an irreparable situation. And they want to get this resolved ASAP. Let's get ready to rumble.
Okay, no, not yet. I got a question. What's a good match for?
Sorry, you guys were talking over each other so much. I had to just play it.
I thought you were.
It was like jibber.
You just wanted to get a reason to hit the background thing.
No, I thought it was because of what's coming. That's what I thought. Okay. In your guys' opinions, what teams make sense for Miller?
Boston, Philly.
Boston makes sense because Miller is a Boston type of player in my mind.
A lot of teams that could probably use that kind of veteran presence and that kind of tough talent, and he does probably seem like a torts guy. The range, I would bet the Rangers are in on him, but if I'm Miller, no one wants to go there. You know what I mean?
Really?
I think the Devils still make the most sense to me, personally. I think you get a winger, because Timo Meier isn't working out to the way New Jersey had hoped. That's starting to look like a semi-bad contract. You need to find a good winger for your two really good centers.
only-
The centers are an issue for New Jersey.
It's only Myers' second year, and first of all, I think Myers is a left wing, but JT plays the right. So
Either way, though, you want to find a good winger to pair with your two good centers.
I don't think it makes sense for New Jersey.
Just for Brodsky, but
It's a
I
big
don't know,
doesn't
maybe they
make
move him
sense.
to the off wing.
Isn't it also who can afford him? I mean,
Yeah,
not a
I
big
think
deal.
if you lock yourself into JT Miller, New Jersey gets in trouble
I would. Yeah, true.
with cap. Like it's got to make sense for the money too. Like
Yeah.
you know what
I
I mean?
would
Like
think-
long term.
Yeah, I don't
If
think
they
there's a
end
lot
up
of teams.
moving him, the two names that I've heard that have been discussed for at least players going back to Vancouver, one we talked about in our chat is Dawson Mercer. He's kind of underachieved a little bit
Yeah, I
in New
can see that.
Jersey, not quite
Yep.
the player we thought he was going to be. The other one, this is the bigger name for sure. I heard this from the Bratpak, and even though he's kind of a shit poacher a little bit, he does know his devil stuff. So I will give him this.
Okay,
He's here in Dougie Hamilton. Dougie
Hamilton.
He's got the contract that kind of matches that. I think Hamilton makes about $8.5 million a year.
Yeah, I
have
think
to
so.
think New Jersey will lose a little bit.
Yeah, but then
And
Vancouver
also
gets
opens up a
saturated.
pathway for Simon Nemec to come up as well if it comes down to that too.
Yeah, but
So,
then Dougie. Yeah, but here's the thing though. Dougie Hamilton, there's to Vancouver at $8 million. Like that, they're going to saturate themselves on defense.
Yeah, that's a lot of money
Like,
on defense when you
that
got
doesn't
Quinn
make
Hughes.
sense.
it is, but
You
I
got-
mean I've heard Vancouver's trying to bolster the blue line a little bit too.
Yeah, but
They
then
could
you
do
have
that,
You
and
gotta
give
be
them
able to
the
afford
path
it.
up to New Jersey.
Yeah, but then you have Philip Roenick, you have Quinn Hughes, and you're going to become super saturated at that point. And
Don't
that's
you-
a bad move.
Don't you also think? I mean, they got to take back a forward. Don't like.
Yeah,
how they,
they're going to need to get Mercer, and they don't have the cap space to take on Dougie Hamilton and Mercer.
Yeah, that
No,
seems
I
a
don't
lot.
think it would be. I think it would be one or the other if they're going to do that.
I don't think they're moving Miller, and they're not taking back an established player at that position.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I've heard. I don't know if I entirely agree with that, but if Vancouver has been rumored to try to add to their blue line, that's not false. But
Oh, I'm not going to.
I don't think that's the way
they're
to
not going
do
to
it.
pay $8 million. They're not going to pay $8 million right now. Not
you
for
already
that.
have Quinn Hughes, so I get it. And Hughes and Hamilton are kind of similar players. They're both offensive-minded defensemen. So
I don't think
definitely
it's just.
understand
I don't think it's just Hughes because right now the current cap space is $3.5 million, but you know on
money would make
defense you're going to
sense
super
if they
saturate
did
yourself. You got
one. Because they both make around
Yeah,
the
but I don't
ballpark
think-
of $8 million. I think Hamilton makes 8.5.
Hamilton does. Yeah, I think Hamilton does make 8.5, but you got Quinn Hughes making 7.8. You got Philip Roenick
That's a
making
steal of a
7.25, 7.25. You got
And bringing in
Carson-
$8 million on top of that.
yeah.
That's a lot of
You're
money.
you're putting a lot of money in that defense in just in three guys. That's what 23 million plus.
I mean, I'll
Like
say this: if
23,
I'm going to
24
put
million
money
in three
into
guys.
between the forward core and the blue line, I'd probably rather invest in the blue line. Me personally, especially if Patrick Demko and net.
Yeah, but your number 3 or number 2 defenseman's either going to be making $8 or $7 million.
No, I agree, but that's just what I've heard from the Brock puck. I don't
And then
know.
you got a hole up front now with Miller gone. What do you do there?
Yeah,
They'll probably have to bring someone up if that would be the case.
they,
I
don't
think
think they
Dawson
have
Mercer
anybody.
myself personally does make more sense, but the name that has been rumored is Dougie Hamilton. So I don't know. That would be that would be a blockbuster because that's two high quality players on the move. But
maybe, but I don't think it would be Hamilton. They would have to be somebody else.
I think,
I
like I said,
see it.
Mercer makes more sense to me. But if it's Mercer, it's got to be more of a package because Mercer for Miller is not a fair move at all.
No,
New
of course.
Jersey runs away with that.
They're going to send more back, but
Yeah. But the issue is Vancouver doesn't want draft capital. They want players now or high-end prospects that are just about ready.
so what
So-
about Mercer and Nemec?
Might
See,
be
that
an
makes it
overpay.
interesting.
That's an overpay. That's an overpay. Mercer and Nemec for Miller.
You're
Nemec
right.
alone.
He's a young player. It's
Ne-
too
Because
young.
Nemec
is a
is-
number 2 overall pick. So I
Nemec
get
is gonna grow into a very, very strong defenseman. That might if both of them I understand Mercer is not playing up to what you expected, but I wouldn't give a second overall pick in Simon Nemec for JT Miller. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, especially he's 31, Miller, so it doesn't.
Yeah, you're giving up a lot. Like, that's age. You're
Doesn't
getting
sound
older.
to me like there's necessarily a match there.
I don't think there is.
Another team that has been mentioned, and this one makes some sense too, is Carolina. And
No cap.
Carolina's in the mix of the playoff hunt right now. They're going to be having a lot of cap come off next year. Both of the top two blue liners are coming off. Coming off the cap in both Dmitry Orlov and Brett Burns. So
so they get better on the forward group, but they suck defensively.
No, I understand that, but I'm just stating that there might be a match made there. I'm not saying that they'd even would have to move him. Carolina is just another team that has been rumored. That's what I've heard on 32 Thoughts. That's another team that Elliot Freeman brought up. But there's a lot of teams. There's going to be a lot of moving parts here. I have a feeling he's not going to want to go to the Rangers. He's been with the Rangers before. JT Miller probably left for. He got what did he sign in free agency when he left the Rangers, or did he get traded? I forget.
No, so he's probably not going to agree to go back there, especially with Chris Drury,
GM.
Yeah, I doubt that.
I think Carolina and New Jersey make the most sense right now. But
I think again with Carolina, you have issues with money. Who do you send? You probably gonna have to give them Martin Necas.
Necas, that would be interesting. Only
you're going to have to give them something.
So the money would work. And Necas has cooled off a bit since his start. I think that would be a pretty decent trade.
Necas has already said
another name they listen at as well. But
I'm not getting rid of Svechnikov.
I probably wouldn't either. I'm just saying it's a name that you would listen with.
But
you're obviously not moving Aho. You're not moving Jarvis.
No, Necas, so it would be Necas would be one of them.
Necas would be the most likely candidate.
And maybe Kotkaniemi as their third line center. That's probably what you're looking at. And then you might have to throw in a third round pick for that as well. Because you're also taking Kotkaniemi.
Take this crap player, please. Well, he's played a little better this year. I will give him that. But
yeah. So.
Yeah, that sounds like that actually might work over there.
They have a better trade partner, I think, in Carolina than they do New Jersey. But New Jersey, Carolina is also strapped for money. So it was bought. Yeah. Every team interested in JT Miller right now, outside of the Philadelphia Flyers, is strapped for money.
We're strapped for money too. Don't let it fool you. The only way we can make that work is if we move Ryan Ellis' garbage contract.
Okay, but wait, now as a Bruins guy, how would you, if Bruins would be able to, like, what kind of deal would Bruins be?
You'd have to move it at least Charlie Coyle, at least,
definitely,
and you'd also have to move likely Trent Frederick, and that even then, like, that probably consumes. You could do it with that, but you're going to need to probably give a second or 2 second rounds on top of that, because I'm not giving them a first for JT Miller. You're getting Coyle, a player of equal age, a good two-way forward. It has history with Jake DeBrusk. You're getting Trent Frederick, a younger player, middle six guy that's projected. He's having a down year this year, but you give those two players and maybe 2 second round picks and toss in Merkulov, maybe. Or if you want to bolster the defense a bit, give them Ryan Callahan or Jack Edward.
Does that move enough money for you guys to be able to afford? Yeah.
Yes, it would. Barely, but it would.
If you want me to give you a trade scenario with the Flyers, I don't see us as a good match partner, but if I were to throw one together to make the money work, I'd probably say you have to move like Ristolainen, who's making $5.1 million. He's worth that contract now. He's been absolutely excellent the last 2 years. Yeah, Bradshaw's done wonders on this guy. But Ristolainen, you probably have to find a way to move Scott Laughton over there, and then maybe dangling Jet Luchenko. You probably have to move him. But the thing is, then you leave a big hole in your center hole, because he's probably the only good prospect center you have coming up.
Can't move Luchenko.
So I wouldn't move him either.
You can't.
But that's what it would probably take.
Unless you're taking back another young center, you can't move Luchenko.
I know, I agree. I wouldn't want to move him either. You got he's your only good young prospect center. But to make a deal like this work, that's what it would probably take for a guy of the quality of JT Miller. It doesn't make sense for us because he's not in the Flyers age group. He's 31 years old. The Flyers are trying to clear cap right now anyway. And I just don't see how the pairing for this would match. I don't think we're going to have any interest in JT Miller at all.
All right, let's go
You love
on
that
to.
whistle, huh?
I love that whistle. It puts you in timeout. It's my favorite button.
I haven't done anything wrong today. I thought you've been pretty good.
That's like that one. That's my other favorite one to use with you.
Keep the slime away from me.
We've definitely touched a lot on JT Miller, and I think I agree with Alex. I think he's going to be moved before the off season for sure. It's just a matter of where, because again, it's a lot of money and it's a lot of ask.
Before the month ends.
So, another interesting topic was that Kyle Dubas reportedly had said that he is going to go full fire sale. Reportedly.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe one of the names that he said is not going anywhere, and they've said it several times over, is Sidney Crosby. Rick is going to contest that. So we're going to have ourselves a little mini sin bin.
I'm not exactly contesting that, though. Because I'm saying that the Habs should go after Crosby. I'm not saying that Pittsburgh. Okay, shut up.
I did that one. Now go ahead, Rick.
Without further ado,
let's get ready to rumble.
I just thought of a good name for a renaming of the sin bin, but I'm going to wait till after the episode to say it.
what is it going to be? Elderly abuse?
Rumble Pit. Rumble Pit.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into it. So it's a no-brainer that Pittsburgh is going to sell. They're not going to go anywhere. Dubas has said that they'll also retain salary on Erik Karlsson, which
they'll have to. How many years? How many years is left on that thing?
Enough to make you consider like
it's another 2 or 3 years.
That's too much. Yeah. Good luck to them.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that and when that is. But Rick, why don't you state your case about? But Rick, why don't you state your case about Sidney Crosby?
Okay, so this is my case for Sidney Crosby. First of all, I want to go back to last season. After I believe Jake Gensel got traded, Sidney Crosby was not happy. He was depressed a little bit, and he said it more than once. I can't concentrate with that. That if the team felt the need to move him to make the team better, he's fine with that. So he's already said that. So I'm just making the point that for Montreal, where Montreal is right now in their rebuild, how things are going, if they add a guy like Sidney Crosby to center that second line of theirs, their rebuild's basically over. We're making the playoffs, and we may do some damage. But they have to be sure that they're going to be making the playoffs. Otherwise, it doesn't pay to do that. So I'm just making the case that Montreal should do their due diligence and try to get him.
Did you just say Sidney Crosby would drop down to the second line?
That I feel like you would have to play on the first line in Montreal.
That's fine.
Yeah, no disrespect to Nick Suzuki, great center, but
he's not
taking a front seat to Sidney Crosby.
If you call playing with Patrick Laine demoting, but he'd be playing with Laine, I think that's not a bad thing.
You even had Cam Dog come into the screen. He was so appalled with that.
On the first line, that's fine.
I think you would have to.
Still not breaking up our first line. I don't think they're going to do that. But, anyways, that I didn't get that far anyway.
Yeah, no discredit to Nick Suzuki, but a player like as consistent as Crosby, he's going to get first line minutes.
Yeah, he's the first liner. They would probably move the lines around if that were to happen. Listen, and I will say,
it's the debate about. Are we debating about how they would move lines around, or we're debating about?
The point is, Dubas said he's not going to move him. But if he were to somehow, he's moving him as a first line.
Okay, on that, there've been plenty of players whose GM said, "Oh no, we're not moving them," that got moved.
Yeah, but I don't think those players are really close to reminiscent of Sidney Crosby. I mean, this guy has not had one single.
I'm glad you brought that up, Rick. This isn't what it was back in the 80s.
Wayne fucking Gretzky got sold like a bitch.
Because the Oilers needed money. Because they needed money.
Here's the issue with this, Rick.
There was an actual financial reason.
The
Elder
Caps
abuse.
so much.
If you're
This
listening
Cap
and
system was
watching,
so much-
elder abuse, call the police.
Okay, I'm done hitting the whistle. Here's the thing, Rick.
Okay, yeah.
The cap
What's the
system
thing?
is a lot different from when it was back in the 80s. They had a
Of
much
course.
softer cap. You could
Of
spend
course.
however you wanted to then. It's a hard cap nowadays. How
There was-
often it's
There
viewing
was no
of
cap
the
back
players
then.
of Sidney Crosby's quality. When was the last time you saw a player of that magnitude moved? In recent memory. We're not talking about Wayne Gretzky. We're talking recent memory.
I can't. I don't.
It's been a while.
No.
You suck.
Yeah. So with
Yeah,
that
so-
being said, the hard cap makes it almost an impossibility to make that work. Not only that, you haven't even put in
How?
Montreal's cap situation in perspective. Montreal's already over the cap right now. I looked at that cap going into this. They're over the cap by a little over
Have
$1 million.
price. It's
Yeah,
because of
move Carey
price.
Price's money
Yeah.
and you're fine.
Yeah. So you think Pittsburgh's taking that?
No, but
No,
it doesn't
but
matter.
there's
Carey
teams
Price
that-
is going to be in It doesn't matter. I'll actually address this and save Rick
They
on
have
this.
plenty of
Carey
money.
Price is always going to be on LTIR until his contract
Yes.
comes out.
Well,
It's-
there's one more year left,
yeah,
but
he'll be fine.
there's a bunch of money coming off the books next year, and they have the cap now. They can do it.
The bottom line is, I don't think he goes because the amount of stuff that Crosby has done for the city of Pittsburgh
Oh, I kind of
is
agree. with-
is insane, and he's such a hometown guy. At this
agree.
point, it's hard to move him. The package would have to be enormous. I would have to imagine. The guy has never had. I'll put it this way: he has not had one season where he has not been at least a point per game player. He is currently on pace for that, despite the struggle of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Currently, he is 24th in scoring in the NHL with 49 points at age 37. The only other 37-year-old close to that is in 40th place with 41 points in Ans Kopitar. That's a playoff team on the LA Kings. No Montreal player is higher than Sidney Crosby currently, but Nick Suzuki is close with 48 points at 28th place. Crosby has 3 Stanley Cup championships, 2 Art Rosses, 2 Conn Smythes, 2 Harts, 1 Mark Messier, 2 Richard, and 3 Ted Lindsay trophies. He has 1,320 games played, 1,645 career points, and he's a career plus 198. That package you're going to need to give up for him is massive.
Yes, but how
Long
many
story
teams?
short, he's good.
Not a lot of teams have what Montreal has, though. Montreal can do it.
I don't disagree.
Maybe not for what I said to you, but Montreal has the package. They could put
Here's
it
the
together.
thing. If Crosby, if
Is it
this
worth it?
were to end up eventually become a thing where Crosby were to be moved, they would respect Crosby's wishes and they would trade him to the team he wants to go to. And there's only one team I could see that working with, and that's the Colorado Avalanche. Because him and Nathan McKinnon are like this. Number
I
one.
agree with that. Okay,
And number
but
two, the Colorado Avalanche their window's not closing anytime soon.
there's only two. Montreal's window's about to open. There's only 2 places I
Yeah.
would think he would agree to go to, and that is Colorado and Montreal. Why? He grew up a Habs fan. That has to have something, mean something. to him.
Colorado doesn't have the assets. That's the only problem. They have Mikko Rantanen, and apparently
That's what,
Mikko
honestly,
Rantanen
yeah.
is looking.
The only way I could see that happening with Colorado right now is if Rantanen ended up walking.
Montreal has the assets.
Mikko Rantanen is asking for $14 million, and it's not something that they're willing to give right now. So there is
That's what I'm
a
reading, yeah.
possibility that Mikko Rantanen gets moved, and that could be your biggest asset to get him. But Rantanen's also 28, so you're only getting 9 years younger on a team that's strapped for cap. But I bet you they'll move on from that. But in terms of assets, they don't have a first round pick this year. They don't have a third round pick this year. They don't have a second or a third next year, and they don't have a third the year after that.
They don't have what it takes.
Montreal
Thanks
on
for
the
your
other
first, Colorado.
Montreal on the other hand,
has. Go ahead.
Montreal on the other hand has 2 first round picks this year, their first round pick next year, 2 second round picks this year, 2 second round picks next year, 3 third round picks this year, and 1 next year. They realistically could supply Pittsburgh with a package. And I think they're the most likely team that could land Crosby if they were open to trading him. Will they?
Okay, but I
Probably.
didn't say that they will trade him. I said Montreal should do their due diligence to get him if they could.
You said in our chat, bold prediction, the Habs trade for him.
Okay, but that's a hot take. Those are half the time are bullshit anyway.
You just said that they're gonna that's your
No, but
prediction,
then we
they're
talked
gonna trade
about
for him.
it, and I said they should try to get him. They should try. This is what
Every
I'm
team
talking
should
about.
try to get him. I would want Philly to try to get him. Are they going
But
to?
not every
No.
team listen, realistically, Montreal listen to Cam.
To your corners. To your corners.
Our captain Cam said Montreal has the assets. They realistically could do
To your corners. To your corners.
I'm not saying that they couldn't do it. It's more the fact that just Pittsburgh, I don't think.
To your corners.
Will you shut up, Cam? I'll shove that whistle up your ass so you can toot the Star Spangled Banner.
Anyways, it's Kyle Dumbass who's the guy that's going to make the decision. Anything could happen with him. If we have, we could have. What if the guys that we have to offer are from Sault Ste. Marie? He loves that.
What?
To your corners, gentlemen. This reminds me of the episode where we invited Rick on to the sin bin where we abused him. Yeah,
no,
you did.
I
you
did
did worse
horribly
there.
This one.
You're doing a lot better this one.
Yeah, I got you almost on my side, so fuck off. I'm doing
you're
much
not.
better.
I'm not on your side. I'm just agreeing with you that you have the assets, but I don't think it happens.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think it happens either. I didn't say I thought it was. I made a hot take. It's for clickbait.
Just own up to it, dude. Just own up to it.
But I think that they should
Anaheim
try.
sucks.
If you don't try, you don't. Like Gretzky said, you don't score on every shot you don't take.
Yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't.
That's
take.
it. That's how it is.
Let's quickly that'll do it for our quick
Trade talk, because that's really the only good hot stuff that's been coming out this past week.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything else.
It's been pretty quiet. Let's move on to just some. I'm watching you. Let's move on to our final topic, and I believe it is going to be Rick that kind of leads us into this. We're going to be talking about how tight the Eastern Conference is continuing to get, and it's even getting hotter.
The Eastern Conference race is tighter than an 8-year. No, I'm not going to say it. It is. It's getting tighter as two teams seem to be. I didn't say it. As two teams seem to be.
Jesus, I'm gonna cancel you.
As if I would have said it, I might have got canceled. Two teams seem to be falling out, though. Buffalo definitely. They need a miracle, I think, at this point. But the Islanders seem to be slowly falling out of it a bit. No, right? The Islanders are. Anyway, I don't know what.
No, it's really crazier than that, Alex. If you go to not the if you scroll down, because it's more like
this
the wild
is probably
card
about where the cutoff line is Pittsburgh. I think right around here.
No, go that. What's the other team?
The Islanders are at 43 points, and then Buffalo, who lost again today, is at 39.
Yeah, Islanders are falling apart, are starting to fall down, but it's from Pittsburgh up. It's close.
8. Yeah, think of it this way: 8th place, eighth place in that is close. 6 points. That's nuts.
With this amount of games left, that's close.
You have
8 teams fighting for a wild card spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's bananas.
And it's
the East is interesting for sure. Now, take a look at how many teams have been hot lately. Ottawa's turning that game around suddenly. They've won, I think, 5 out of the last 6. They're 5-0-1 in their last 6. Detroit had just won 7 in a row, but have now started to cool off a little bit. They've lost 3 straight if you count the OTL. The Flyers, who I thought were going to fade into irrelevance, suddenly pulled off a hot week and got 9 out of 10 points, won 4 out of their last 5. The Rangers are starting to find their game again. They're 6-1-3 in their last 10. Montreal continues to be red hot. They've won, 11 out of the last 14?
I'll give you in the last 22 games, they are 15-6-1. They also have the 3rd best winning percentage since November 30th, I think.
God, gag me.
Boston has been kind of hovering in the middle over the last few weeks.
No,
Boston's been mediocre.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're the middle. They've played just the most game, not the most. I think tied for the most games out of anyone on this list, not named New Jersey. And that's a team I want to bring up real quick. I would keep an eye on the Devils, even though they're still got a bit of a gap. They've lost 9 out of their last 11 games.
Yeah, they haven't
Something
been good.
is starting. I kind of want to retract my Dubas take from. My Keith take from last week. That was bad take.
No,
they're starting to fall apart.
I know. We did tell you that when you said
But
like Keith was for the Jack
here's
Adams.
the
Like that's a
thing.
laughable thing.
I also want to
But
say.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. When I make a bad take, I can acknowledge it. I can acknowledge
do too. I do too. Listen, religious people will always tell you keep a close eye on the devil.
I see what you did there.
You suck.
I saw.
Now can Cam admit the fact that the Elias Lindholm contract?
No,
is
because it's
in?
year
Never.
one.
He'll never
It's
do
year
that.
One. Year one, dude.
You're asking me
It's
to basically
sandwich.
gauge. You're basically asking me to gauge an entire contract over the span of several years off of a year one where an entire team is
It's a poop
underperforming.
sandwich with corn flakes in the middle.
Sure. So if he goes off and he
sugar on
gets
top.
85 points next season, what do you say then?
He is not getting 85 points. You and I both know that.
So what happens, Alex?
And
If
you call
if
me
in 2
crazy.
years and he starts doing good, like what are you gonna do? Like
I
I'm
would
not
be
gonna.
shocked,
I'm not
and I would
putting too much
acknowledge that I
stock.
was wrong, but the thing is,
I'm
he's
not
not
gonna.
going to do
That,
that.
and that's why I'm
This-
not saying
This
anything
is
yet until more
that's
time.
about as likely as Jake Allen playing 40 games. Mind you, he's played like 50.
Let's get ready to rumble.
He's played 50. He's played
Yeah,
15, Alan.
That's
He ain't
about as
getting 40.
likely as
Yeah,
your
he's not
Jake
getting
Allen
40.
take. FYI, I still remember you got to come on a Flyers jersey towards the end of the year and Flyers.
I said I would. I just got to borrow one. I am up to my
that's
shit.
fine.
But you're
I'll-
asking me. But 1 year into a contract, and you're asking me to say that it's a poop sandwich. I'm just like, right now, it might appear that way, but I'm not going to assess it after one
I will give you
fucking
this.
year because I'm not a bum. I'm not a loser. Like who just goes like, oh, he's having a bad year, and then what
But
happens in
it's
the
not
next like
just
8
this
years
year.
or
This is what
7
we
years?
acknowledge. He's had 3 straight regressing years, and he's a two-way power forward. Those guys don't
He's
suddenly
a
become
two-way forward.
brilliant.
The two-way power forward. You just combine two positions.
You can be a mixture of both.
It's not
Yeah,
how
you
this works,
can.
buddy. He's a
You're
two-way
right,
forward,
buddy.
buddy.
You can be both.
He's a two-way forward.
He's
Not-
a two-way
two-way
forward who
power.
plays
He's
a
a two-way
physical
power.
style of game.
He's a two-way forward. Most two-way forwards play a physical style of game.
Yeah,
The
so
Elias
he's a-
Lindholm contract was a desperate move by a desperate GM.
Thank you, Rick.
And it backfired.
We'll see again. Year one, dude. We got 7 more years of this, and if in the middle
Yes,
of it
3
he's
straight
doing
years
well,
of regression isn't enough.
oh my god! In all 3 of those years, he has played for 3 different teams. So let's go. Let's just
And he
move
had
on.
great line mates in Calgary, which is why he was good then. and now he's turned
3
into a poop
years,
sandwich.
3 different teams. So
Poop
let's
sandwich.
move on. Year one, dude. I'm not so stupid to just judge a contract off of 1 year.
Offer him back
Okay.
to Vancouver. See
We'll
what
be
they
back
do.
in year 2 when he at
If
both-
in year 2, if in year 2 he continues to regress, that's when you'll hear me say yes, it is now a bad contract. But 1 year into it, I'm not going to put much stock into it. Granted, where the team is.
So Rick, we
Grow
have
up.
1 more year until Cam acknowledges it's a poop sandwich.
Yes.
Okay,
If that's the way
fair.
it trends,
I'll-
if that
I'll
is
wait.
the way
Mark
it
it down.
If that
Mark
is
it
the
down.
way it no, I'm a man of substance. If that is the way it trends, then yes, I will admit to that. But right
That's
now,
Vogel says you're a man of the people.
I am a man of the people, dude. But you want to know what?
Take this
Any moron who just decides to judge a player off of 1 year with a brand new team on a on a team that's obviously having problems is just an idiot.
I'm the moron. I'm an idiot.
Poop sandwich. It's going to be a poop sandwich. I'll wait for another year. I won't give you any more
Good.
crap
And
right now.
Alex, I will happily admit it at that point in
Okay.
time. But right now,
That's all
I
I'm
have faith.
Listen, with a picture like this, I fit the bill.
Poop sandwich
Boo.
contract.
Okay, can we remove the?
Oh, no.
Okay, so what else did I have to say?
I don't know.
Back to the
Just-
point at hand. We were talking about the division. The Eastern Wild Card race. So it's really interesting right now how many teams are really clumped into this. And as I stated,
Yeah, it's
keep an
8,
eye
you
on New
asshole.
Jersey. I think that they've played more games than anyone else. Teams with games in hand. Columbus is hot right now. Montreal's hot right now. The Rangers starting to find it. Philly's hot right now. Teams are going to start chipping at them if they don't get it together soon.
Yep.
It's not even just
They're not
that too,
cool.
Alex. If you scroll up and if you actually look at it, I would say the cutoff is probably Montreal at fourth in the wild card race, where you can actually realistically say that they're also fighting for third place
Yes.
spots.
Yes,
Like,
I mentioned it the other day.
It's not even just the wild card race too, but it's the you got to look at some of these teams in second and third place spots could potentially fall out. Like, you can't go on losing streaks.
Yeah.
Yep.
I give Tampa one benefit of the doubt. They do have the most games in hand out of anyone, but
Yeah,
you got to
weird,
win those
right?
games. So that's-
Weird, right?
that's
You think about it. Think about it though. That's weird. They have them. Like, why do they have so little games played? You're like halfway through the season.
Well, I know
Isn't there
there
all-
was one game they had
Yeah, they need to
rescheduled
give
with
them prune
Carolina
juice.
early in the year.
Yeah.
So that was part of it. But and why does New Jersey have 5 more games in them too? That seems like a big gap. Yeah, no
New
one else.
Jersey
I'm just
also
looking real
played
quick if
those-
anyone else
those-
is at. Look at LA. The LA's played 43.
New Jersey's also played across seas, I think, to
That's
start
true.
the season.
That is true.
Yeah.
But so did Buffalo, and they're at 46. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but Buffalo also had, I don't know, a stretch of long games. Yeah, I don't know why Tampa hasn't yet. So it's strange. Whatever.
They'll
They're gonna,
catch up at
but
some point.
that just means at the end of the season they're gonna have a lot of close games, and that could do
That's
the team
when
in.
it's going to be packed together in March. That's when remember, I think Pittsburgh had the same thing happen to them last year. Now, mind you, Pittsburgh started finding that game, that shocked me. I didn't expect that for them to get back into this because that is an old team. But point being, Pittsburgh was very similar to Tampa last game, where they had to play a bunch of games from like late February to the end of March, where they played like 18 games in like 31 days. It was something ridiculous like that. Tampa's going to probably have something very similar.
The trade deadline, all I'm going to say, is going to be absolutely insane this year. It's going to be insane.
Everyone, we're going to be doing a live stream for that. So please
Yeah,
join in the fucking round group for that.
The East is it's going to be wild. You're going to see people trying to fight for players. Like, obviously, you could imagine that teams like Nashville, San Jose might be selling, Chicago might be selling, Vancouver might be selling. Like, you're going to have a lot of buyers, I think, in this trade deadline, a lot, and they're probably going to be in the East.
Yeah.
You might probably see a lot of sellers too, like, as we approach the deadline. And maybe if the gap increases, but I don't think you're going to start seeing a major gap increase until after the trade deadline.
I will say this: prices could be higher than usual this year, especially if you don't have many teams start to gap.
Yep.
The Islanders are stubborn. I don't know if Lou is actually going to start selling people or not.
God,
he probably is just trying to get up from his nap. Buffalo might sell.
Lamoriello sucks.
Yeah, he's terrible. We can all agree with that.
Buffalo's
I wonder
gonna
what
sell,
Trotz
but
is
they're
gonna
not
do
going to
with
sell.
Nashville.
They're not going to sell big. Buffalo will sell, but they're not going to sell big.
Yeah.
Nashville's going to have to sell, but they're going to be like a buy to sell. It'll be more of hockey trades, I think, than it'll actually be selling.
I think Taylor Hall will probably get moved for Chicago.
That's been
Toffoli
rumored.
might get moved with San Jose. There's some names here that could be premium guys for the Flyers. If we fall off, I expect Ristolainen to get moved, maybe even
Scott
Lawton.
Lawton.
Yep. Penguins now have acknowledged that they're going to probably potentially do a fire sale. I think they know the end is here.
Ricard Raquel, Evgeny Malkin. Apparently, a lot of those names are up on the block.
I said Malkin, Rust, and Crosby, the 3 names they don't want to move. But Raquel, you mentioned, definitely. Carlson, for sure.
Riley Smith.
Yep, Riley Smith could be a name to watch. I wonder, too, if they end up trying to move Reeves as well. Like this.
No one's
some
touching
guy.
Reeves. No one's going to take Reeves. Anyone who takes Reeves is a moron. Reeves helped, actually helped the Toronto Maple Leafs lose. Reeves helped the Toronto Maple Leafs lose last year. That's what he did. He contributed to the loss. He didn't contribute to a win. Yeah, it did. There's going to be names. Detroit, I don't think Detroit's going to sell. I think they're going to try and add majority. If you can scroll down to the West, Columbus might try to add. Columbus is probably going to try to add because right now it's a miracle with how they're playing.
We all want to see Columbus make the playoffs. Yeah,
well, I also want to see Calgary make the playoffs too. For one main reason, both of those teams had Johnny Gaudreau, and I'd like to see them.
Good point.
The St. Louis Blues, depending where they are, they might try to add. They're an enigma right now. The Utah Hockey Club. I don't know. I know John Marino played in a game, but what's the word on the other guy? Jersey, I think.
Jersey, Sean Jersey. Yeah, I don't know.
Does Anaheim finally pull the trigger on a Travers Egers move? That
No.
could be interesting and something to watch. He's obviously not happy there.
I know, but
And
again, Montreal would likely go for him, but they don't want him.
No,
Like,
Montreal won't go for him.
See,
'Cause the
that's a
package-
name I think we would consider because Cam
You have
York
the
and Jamie
package.
Drysdale are both very close with Trevor Zegras, and the Flyers might try to buy low on a center. That wouldn't be a bad move.
You're not
So-
gonna, but you're not gonna get Zegras on low. You're not.
I mean, I will say this is the best time to buy him is at least he's not going to be maximum value right now. I think we can all agree with that.
Oh no, he will. He will.
Is he back from injury?
I don't think so.
He will.
He'll still get a decent return. I'm not saying
Because I bet you what's going to end up happening. Anaheim will wait to pull the trigger on Zegras just to see what center goes first for what price, and then that's going to set the price for Zegras that much higher. They're going to play that very intelligently.
Because if the center has been more established and consistent, a team will be like, "You want us to pay that for Zegras?" We'll give an example real quick. Say if I'm trying to think of a team that's probably a little.
It doesn't. You're paying more for his talent level at that. It's not about the consistency because no one on Anaheim is consistent. So using that as a kind of a moot point, you're still paying for the level of talent that he has.
Say if a Kyrou gets moved in St. Louis and he gets a decent value, would you?
I think Kyrou plays a wing. I think Kyrou plays winger more.
I'm pretty sure he plays center. I thought.
Maybe he does.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a center. But say if a Kyrou moves, for example. They look at that deal and say, "We're not giving you that for Zegras. Kyrou's been more established. He's been more consistent. Why would we give up premium value for Zegras when the last 2 years he's either been bad or hurt? And it's not his fault. I'm not blaming it all on Zegras. He's in a crappy system. That's a team I can argue for sure. Yeah, system is poop. But at the same time, you look at it.
Younger age, contract value.
Team.
But it'd be to a contender.
Younger. I understand that.
It would be to a contender that needs a center, no?
Yeah. So if I'm not gonna lie, yeah, you would have to pay a higher dollar because the contender will probably pay a little bit less for a guy like Kyrou. But if you're going for a guy like Zegras and you're Philadelphia, Anaheim knows the assets you have. You'd end up having to pay more.
It depends on the player. I'd move for that, but I'm not. I'd maybe move. We have 6 picks in the first 2 rounds, so I'm willing to move a first for him. Right. That's fine.
Yeah, I just see a lot of
first, but 8 first.
I just see a lot of sellers in the West and not a lot of buyers. A lot of buyers are going to be in the East.
I agree with that.
Some sellers are going to be in the East too.
More, for sure.
So, yeah, I mean, the Kraken might sell a little bit, but they're old and I could see Jordan Eberle being on the move. I believe
that would be an interesting name.
I think he has some form of trade. He has some form of trade protection though, so that I'm gonna have to get looked at. But
I wonder Shane Wright too. I mean, it's been a weird saga there in Seattle. I know he's young
still too young. I think
too young.
Yeah.
But there's already been 2 picks out of the top. What 6? There's actually been 3 picks in that draft class in the top half and moved. I'm not ruling anything, and Nemec might be next, so that would be 4.
It would be shorter to tell you. It would be shorter to tell you who doesn't have some form of trade protection in Seattle.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's wild.
Really?
A lot of MFCs.
Yeah,
that could be a mistake.
They have 13 contracts that have some form of trade protection.
Jesus.
Ew.
13 contracts, and Jordan Eberle is
all right.
No, they're not. And Jordan Eberle is on LTIR right now, and he has a full NMC for 2 years at $4.75 million.
Yeah,
which is
but
weird.
guys that are injured more than likely aren't getting traded.
Yeah, you could look at Eli Tolvanen.
What a difference between 2 teams with Vegas. Vegas becomes an expansion team. They take over the league and instantly become a contender almost every year. Seattle has 1 year of relevance in what is this? Their 3rd or 4th year?
Yeah, but did you see the team?
3rd.
I mean, the team they drafted was.
Yeah. I mean, the draft wasn't all that good too.
That's not true. Comparatively, like analysts have
talked. No, it was better than Seattle's.
It was significantly.
It was better than. But if you look at the beginning of the year, everyone had Vegas near the bottom of the league. If you go back to that, no one in Vegas doing anything. And they first came.
But in terms of, I agree with Rick. In terms of talent, like the availability of talent, yeah, it's Seattle got off to a much more rough start. They also had Hackstall, so
Don't
you
get
go.
him started. Don't get him started.
He's already lost.
Stupid hack stall decision count. No,
I like the
Let's
whistle.
quick,
I get
let's quick on
PTSD
that.
from that,
Let's
man.
quick to that. It's gonna quick on that.
Yeah.
No, you're right, and I think this is the good state of the league. I think you really only have 3 or 4 bad teams right now out of a 32 team league. That's pretty solid, guys. So I think the league is in a good state.
Mm-hmm. I can agree
So
with that.
I don't know, but with that, guys, final thoughts.
Final
I will
thought.
say this. Please, for the love of God, for direction. Either be good or be ass. Please don't end 10th or 11th again. That's all I want to say.
Rick,
Go Habs, go. I don't know.
go Habs,
Go
go.
ahead.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for episode 55 of the Pucking Around podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining. Don't forget to check us out on Bluesky, Twitter, our website at don'tpuckwithmedia.com. Make sure you spell that without the apostrophe between the N and the T. Otherwise, it might take you to some other site. I don't know. I've never tried it. But check out our blogs. They come out weekly. They're written by us personally. And if you ever feel like you want to get involved and write a blog for us, by all means, reach out to us. There is a connect with us button on our website, or you can also leave comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell us what you think down in the comments section. We do our best to try and respond to you. Without that being said, have a good one, guys. Happy Monday.
Ciao.
Or
everybody.
happy whatever day.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Tuesday.